Your Excellency, Jamal Abdullah Al Suwaidi, UAE Ambassador to Singapore and patron of the UAE Singapore Business Council, Exco members of the UAE SBC, honored guests, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon and welcome to the 17th presentation of the UAE Singapore Business Council Quarterly Talks series. My name is Rani Kaur and I'm Managing Director at the Bank of Singapore. I run the operating office for our South Asia and Middle East businesses in Singapore and Dubai. And we are also a corporate sponsor member of the UAESBC, and it's my pleasure to be your MC today. For those of you who are not familiar with the Council, the UAESBC is a members-based business society registered in Singapore that aims to promote trade and investments between the UAE and Singapore. We were established in March 2018 by our founding president, Dr. Brian Shiger, with support from founding patrons, the former UAE Ambassador, His Excellency Dr. Muhammad Balfaqi, and former Singapore Minister for Trade and Industry, Mr. Lee Yi-shan. In 2019, we were recognized by both the Singapore and UAE governments in the Singapore-UAE Comprehensive Partnership Agreement as a conduit for B2B connectivity. The UAE SBC organizes many events throughout the year to empower our members and the Singapore business community with relevant information and meaningful connections for their business aspirations in the UAE and the Middle East. Today's event is part of the UAE SBC Quarterly Talk series, which is among our most regular events since our establishment. Without further ado, I would like to invite the Honorary Secretary for the UAE SBC, Mr. Anand Ramachandran, to give the opening remarks and introduction to our dear speaker. Mr. Anand, please.
Your Excellency Jamal Al Suwaidi, Ambassador to Singapore and patron of this council. Our featured speaker for today, Mr. Atul Temurnikar, Chairman and co-founder of Global Schools Foundation, fellow Exco members of the UAE Singapore Business Council, honored guests, ladies and gentlemen. A warm welcome. My name is Anant Ramachandran. I am the CEO for First Abu Dhabi Bank for Singapore and Southeast Asia. Welcome to another presentation of the UAESBC Quarterly Talk Series. As you heard just now, the series began in 2018 with the objective of providing intimate networking platform for our members and the larger Singapore business community, featuring high-profile corporate professionals, intellectuals, and experts. Through the years, we have been privileged to host many interesting presentations from speakers of high caliber, from eminent institutions like Etihad, FAB, Al Futtaim Group, so on and so forth. We had senior academics, professors, researchers coming and talking to us about their fields of study and educating us. And we had diplomats from the UAE and Singapore and from other relevant partner countries talking to us in this forum. Today, it is my absolute pleasure to present to you another distinguished speaker who happens to sit amongst us in the UAESBC Executive Committee, Mr. Atul Temurnikar. A warm hand of welcome to Mr. Atul Temurnikar. Atul is Chairman and co-founder of Global Indian Foundation and Global Schools Foundation, GSF. GSF is a Singapore-based not-for-profit entity which has 4 international school brands under its wings. The foundation has 35 campuses in 10 different countries across Southeast Asia, East Asia, and importantly, the Middle East. Atul has the executive management of GSF and oversees its worldwide operations. Atul, you are yourself a prominent member of the education industry, and we know that you have made significant impact to the education sector in the region. It's a privilege to have you here. In Singapore, we know that you have worked very closely with the Singapore Indian Development Association, SINDA, to create a customized curriculum for academically weak students and dropouts, and financially contributed Singapore dollar 1.3 million towards this very valuable society initiative. In Malaysia, you have contributed to the integration of a national education module in all international schools in your capacity as an institutional member of the Education Committee formed by the Prime Minister's Office of Malaysia. That's really wonderful. In India, back in 2010, you were leading a part of a group that recommended amendments to the investment policies to be implemented in India to allow direct investment in the education sector by private schools. And since then, we have seen many investments going into India. All of these are commendable, and it's really a privilege to have you amongst us. In terms of background, we know that you are a qualified engineer. You graduated from a very well-known engineering college in Nagpur, Visvesvaraya National Institute, in 1985. In addition, you are an MBA from the UK, University of East London, in 1993. You started venturing into community education after a 16-year corporate stint with really reputable names such as IBM and HCL Technologies. So a very distinguished background. It is going to be very interesting for us to hear about the journey, your story, and the story of GSF. So once again, a warm welcome for Atul, ladies and gentlemen, as I welcome you to the stage to deliver your presentation. And I understand that before you present, we are going to see a very short video. So let's start with the video before you come on stage. Thank you.
What does it take to make a leader of tomorrow? A leader is forged by fire, shaped, reshaped, their mettle tested, resilience and strength carefully owned. Yet a leader must also be like water, filling the cracks in a world rich in diversity, attuned to its complexities, flowing, adapting, changing. For a leader of tomorrow sails along on the winds of change, their minds purified by the rarefied air of lofty thoughts and high ideals, the jet streams of innovation and invention, neither of which can be enabled without space. Space that can both contain and expand, mold and liberate. A foundation. For a leader must stand on solid ground. Responsibility breeds sustainability. Wisdom is cultivated by respect for this earth. Building the foundations for tomorrow's leaders begins here. Global Schools Foundation, celebrating 20 years of premium education.
Your Excellency, good afternoon. Excellency Jamal Abdullah Muhammad, Ambassador of UAE to Singapore, respected members of the UAESBC, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Assalamu alaikum. When the president of UAESBC approached me with the idea of Global Schools Foundation story to be shared here, I was really humbled and honored. It comes at a time when incidentally GSF is observing its 20th anniversary year. It's also coinciding with a documentary recently done by prestigious National Geographic Channel about School of the Future, and features Global Indian International School for its innovative learning methodologies. So I'm excited to talk about GSF today and its innovative approach to the education. Let me begin by sharing an interaction I had with students from the Dubai campus of Global Indian International School. During the meeting, one student shared that the learning has become much more fun because of the student-friendly learning systems she has experienced so far. Another student shared how she took a virtual tour of the Dubai's Museum of the Future through a VR device, which helped her better understand what life in Dubai would be like in 50 years' time. I was also thrilled to see the excitement and engagement and realized that our efforts at bringing the new age innovation to the classroom is really bearing the fruits. The approach at GSF is finding resonance with the aspirations of the students to hone their skills and character and provide diverse pathways for lifelong learning. This was exactly what we had set out to do when we began 2 decades ago. Our journey began in 2002 in Singapore with the realization that compelling need in the community for high quality education that is holistic, diverse, and accessible to a wider community was needed. We wanted to offer to the communities a choice of the world-class education that nurtured globally oriented citizens with strong values that are deeply rooted in the national cultures. The first school started with 48 students with a 9 gems framework embedded in the curriculum that was designed to enable students to develop their critical thinking, problem-solving skills, which are providing a strong foundation in the core academic subjects and towards nurturing leadership and entrepreneurship. The idea was to nurture individuals who could succeed not just academically, but also socially and emotionally. We wanted them to succeed in their areas, but also wanted them to achieve collective success by extending a helping hand to the underprivileged people in their communities. Eventually, through an innovation-oriented approach, business excellence, education excellence, and research and development, we evolved ourselves into an institution that not just gives quality education, but also achieves the unique distinction of becoming the world's largest winner of Education Excellence Awards. The approach was nimble and agile to make sure that we fiercely align ourselves with changing times and keep school learning interesting. It helps us to bring the best of brick and mortar and the edtech bundled into a single platform. And all these steps turned into a very purposeful journey. Our approach was threefold. First was to measure ourselves and our pedagogical offerings to ensure that we compete with the best and emerge ahead of the curve. The second was to have a learning environment that resonates with the aspirations of the millennials and the alpha generation and prepare them to be future ready. The third was really to serve the community where families were looking for good education, had several school options to meet their budgets. So the first dimension that we're looking at is when we understood and adopted an approach which incorporated the best practices from the finest education systems in the East, the West, and the Middle East into our own frameworks. This included a lot of learnings from schools of top PISA-rated countries such as Finland, South Korea, and Singapore. In this context, a good piece of advice came to us from none other than our patron and advisor, Mr. N.R. Naranamurthy, the founder of Infosys. Back in 2008, while visiting our school, he made a very relevant comment. He said, if you want to have the highest level of excellence, you have to get your schools measured on international benchmarks and not just rely on the school's board results. Today, over 98% of the education organizations have a mindset that it's all about student outcomes that should be measured, but not the teachers or the very institutional processes and systems to measure their own progress or rankings. We separated ourselves from this mindset and began benchmarking our institutions to ensure that we know our weaknesses and we take tangible steps to improve ourselves in a timely manner in order for us to serve the students, the parents, and the communities better. The results is there for all to see. We have 470 Excellence Awards won and given to us by international quality and benchmarking organizations like the Asia Pacific Quality Organization, Enterprise Singapore, and Institute of Directors, etc. These awards have been won in different categories like innovation and management, green initiatives, performance excellence, business excellence, corporate social responsibility, and sustainability. The second part of this successful journey is embrace of innovative technology that has firmly positioned us as an institution with a very unique EdTech DNA. Now, EdTech does not mean crowding schools with hundreds of apps or latest technology or the platforms. The most bizarre I heard somewhere where one school group boasted about having 750 apps being used by their students. It means using minimum technology for maximum learning, and impact it can create and ensure that the benefits of these technologies are reaped by the students. Our campuses help students learn in an innovative way, in an interactive environment, with tech that is aided learning rather than being a distraction. 21st century skills-based competencies, activities, work encouraged through learning studios and platforms that will give students a chance to tap into their inherent skills or learn new skills. Playing sports was not just about a physical activity on the ground, but it became an exercise in self-improvement and aiming for the best. In basketball and soccer, through state-of-the-art technology with high-performance Bluetooth tokens and UHF sensors, we gather data from live sports games like they do in NBA or EPLs, and that provided insights into students' individual performance while the game was being played so that they can know their strengths and weaknesses and perform better. These tangible matrices are not confined to student learning alone, but it's also directed towards self-improvement and progress. Our schools were well on their way to preparing new generation into becoming global citizens. We promoted creativity, critical thinking, entrepreneurship, and physical plus mental well-being among the students to make them resilient. They were given platforms to polish their mathematics, ART, science, technology, engineering, and of course, research skills. And they were guided to chart the course of their career through various mentorship programs. And the students were encouraged to contribute to the local community to strengthen their understanding and add to the social fabric of the communities. All these are stepping stones, building a future-ready generation. The third dimension was born from the fact that everybody, every child, every parent wants to go and have their child go to a best school where the child can get the best education. They want the best education to propel their kids towards a better future, and which is within their means. All this has produced fantastic results. It's no wonder that the academic results of our schools in the International Baccalaureate or IB and Cambridge have been some of the best in Asia and Middle East. We can't compete with the Singapore schools, but just to share some perspectives of our schools, in the private school segments, our academic outcomes far outshine the entire Middle East region as well as Asia. GSF schools have given 100 IB world toppers and near perfect scores in the International Baccalaureate. Over 800 students have scored A as A stars in all subjects. 84% of the entire cohort in Cambridge scores A stars and A in all subjects. This is evident from the placement of our alumni to the finest and highly ranked universities around the world. In the past 20 years, more than 100,000 students have shared their school journey at GSF schools, and many of them are doing extremely well in their chosen fields thanks to the innovative programs initiated at the GSF. Our alumni today are not just interning at reputed organizations such as SpaceX and studying aeronautical engineering, but they're also into fintech and competing in Formula 3 races, and they're also making films in Hollywood and winning national beauty pageants. Some of them, like Nishi Anand, who is a IB world topper, are actively engaging with their alma mater, so that as a gesture of paying back in kind and passing their knowledge to the younger generations. The success of our efforts was evident from the requests that we received from private as well as many governments in the region to set up schools in their countries. Today, we have expanded to multiple countries and plan to continue to bring this innovative, high-quality education to other parts of the world. We expanded to schools in Japan, South Korea, Cambodia, Malaysia, Saudi Arabia, UAE, and many other countries. Across these 35 campuses, we are educating over 32,000 students, over 70 nationalities. And with our expansion in the region, we would plan to be educating about 50,000 students by end of next year. In each country, we have customized our curriculum, like you heard about the Singapore experiment, to meet the local communities and regulator requirements, while bringing international standards of education. We also provided personalized learning approaches so that students can experience optimal learning. Our entry into the United Arab Emirates was 10 years back in 2013, when the first campus was established in Abu Dhabi with the finest infrastructure that can surpass any international school in the country. We were very grateful to Eric for this far-sighted approach to education and for giving us this chance to set up one of the best schools in the UAE. For Dubai GIS, the Global Indian International School, the quality of teaching and learning along the facilities is ranked very high. Recently, the school achieved a good rating from the KSDA in the very first inspection by the KSDA. The campuses are problem-solving oriented or solution-oriented, have community-focused activities or spaces which have factored in the aspirations of the community of receiving quality education befitting the present times. Our inter-school events like Kutuhal in Dubai, Al Tasammu in Abu Dhabi is focused on promoting leadership and entrepreneurship and fostering creativity among school students. The success of these schools is based on factors like community connection and language proficiency that resonates with the Emiratis. This is true for every single campus under our umbrella. Wherever we have a school, it may teach Cambridge education or IB framework or American or Indian or any Asian curriculum. It is always curated to meet the needs of the local community. They are planned and designed to offer the best of academic, cultural, and linguistic diversity that includes values and learning. We embraced the advice of think global but act local. Our UAE-based schools are also among the winners of the 470 awards and have received prestigious awards, including Innovative Product at the Asia Pacific Quality Organization and at the IMC for Best Practices Under Education, and the Golden Peacock Award for Best Innovative Initiative in the education sector. We are very glad that this innovation journey that we started by benchmarking ourselves with excellence frameworks has taken us to a level where we have already been recognized by the World Book of Records as the most awarded education institution in the world. Till date, as I mentioned earlier, GSF schools have won over 470 of these excellence awards. Our reputation has also gained us an association with the Dubai Quality Organization, where our representatives are now in a position to help the quality assessors in Dubai to measure the standards of the upcoming UAE companies. The COVID era has brought focus on the use of technology in education, or the lack thereof. We are using technology in an effective way to bring innovation to learning and help students collaborate for better outcomes. We totally understand the role of tech in the leading journey, and hence we decided to build our own proprietary learning technologies platform called SmartLearn. We have our own software division with about 100 engineers, through which we create and integrate technology into education to make sure that the student outcomes are way more effective than other institutions. It's time for us for expansion into UAE, And we are on the verge of starting, in addition to our 2 schools, 2 more new schools, one in Dubai and one in Sharjah, bringing the performance excellence to our UAE friends. Our new school in Dubai, called the Glendale International, will be a British curriculum school with a focus on cultivative character and competence through the Leader in Me program using Stephen Covey's 7 Habits fame acclaimed insights. GSF is also focused on creating a culture of excellence through the ABC of brain-compatible learning, leveraging neuroscience of the pathways mapped between the body and the brain to make learning more engaging. Our dedicated educators are creating a learning environment that is not just smart, but also compassionate and supportive. Our success is not just limited to academics. We have also been recognized in our efforts in sustainability, innovation, and community service. Our goal has always been to create responsible citizens who are committed to making a positive impact on the world. We have also received a lot of support from the many government organizations, including those in UAE. The KHDA, under the dynamic leadership of Dr. Abdullah Al Karam, has given outstanding visionary leadership to GSF schools. His progressive views have propelled the entire Dubai education sector to new heights. As we continue to expand our footprint globally, we remain committed to ensuring that the quality of our top-class education continues to rise consistently. GSF believes that our education is fundamental right and not a privilege, and we will be continuing to work towards creating a world where every child has access to quality education. Through the establishment of a strong network of educators and stakeholders, GSF has created a community of learners that share best practices and work together to advance in the field of education. By focusing on creating global citizens who are equipped with the skills and knowledge to succeed in the 21st century, GSF has made a significant impact on the students around the world. We want to continue this journey of innovation, collaboration, and community engagement, and nurture students to be the global citizens. The story of GSF is going to continue for the next 100 years and will help us in making maximum impact on our current generations or the next generations in the world of education. Thank you very much.
I think he deserves another round of applause. Great presentation by our speaker. Thank you very much, Atul, for a very interesting talk. And I'm sure this has triggered some questions in your minds, and that's what I'm here for, the next round of moderating. So please raise your hand. We'll pass the mic over to you, and say your name and company, wherever you are. So go for it. We'll get you the mic.
We'll share the mic.
Thank you, Atul, for that absorbing speech. My first question is, I have 2 questions. The first question is, what are the challenges you faced as you went into new international markets? Because education is a very sensitive industry, you've got to assure people of quality, so on and so forth. How did you manage to win over the authorities in various countries that are responsible for education? Secondly, as a banker and a financier, my question is, how do you meet the financing challenges in what is a not-for-profit business? Thank you.
Thank you, Anand. I think the first question is on the minds of everybody, which is the regulatory frameworks in various countries differ dramatically. But if you look at the common threads across all these regulatory frameworks, I think most regulators or most governments are wary about what you're teaching. So if you follow international standards or international curriculum, I think that fear goes away. B is, are you contributing to my local social landscape by localizing any of the education? Because some countries do have this anti-foreign sentiments that we don't want to have foreign education. We want our next generation is losing our culture, or getting diluted on that. So they are looking towards institutions which are fostering, promoting local culture as opposed to any specific culture. And the third area is on literally on the aspects of governance and compliances. I think they are pretty straightforward. It may seem to a corporate individual that it is probably complicated. Obviously, it is more complicated than setting up a company because you've got to deal with at least 5 to 7 agencies at all times, from transport agencies to education ministry to various local compliances. But I think as long as there is a will to comply to all these, none of these are challenging. We could hit certain hurdles in certain territories, but they are part of the game. As far as the financing is concerned or the investments are concerned, that is one of the biggest thing in any growth. First 15 years or so, we were primarily a greenfield organization, heavily relying on acquiring land and processing it, getting constructions done, and then going forward. And then you have a school coming up in 2-3 years. It's a pretty long journey, and so we started working with some sort of capital partners who are able to provide us some sort of hybrids or mezz, which allows us to be able to leverage on the seniors and use that capital really to deploy for growth. So as a result of which, in the last 2 years, I would say, we have acquired some schools in the region, from Korea to other countries, and that has allowed us to scale our growth. Because many institutions, what happens is they have, I would say majority of them are started by families or entrepreneurs, and then at some point in time they want to hang the boots, or generations change in the families, the new generations are not interested in schools. So they're always looking to partner with organizations like us who can take the journey on to many more years going forward. And unlike a commercial establishment which is meant for buying and selling schools, we don't get into that. So for us, it's like a long journey. So it's investments opportunities are pretty much there in the region, is there in UAE as well. And we believe we want to foster those investments which are going to be clean, which are in countries that we highly aspire to be in, and particularly where communities require, and there's a strong demand for a private school providing international education or a dual curriculum education. So we believe that there are plenty of opportunities, and it's a question of focusing on the right opportunities and exactly what we want to achieve by that. Thank you.
Yes, please. The mic's behind you.
Hi, thank you, Mr. Atul. It was a very inspirational presentation to me. So since you were mentioned about the community, I have another question. So in your presentation, you were saying GSF has been aligned with the aspiration of community and makes itself deal with the local sensitivity and the cultural sensitivity. So my question is this: how easy or difficult it is to do so, and how has the GSF managed to do this successfully? Yeah.
Thank you. I think I remember even at the beginning of this journey, our board of advisors were very specific about how do we integrate with the local community. And since the first school started in Singapore, this became really the lab for us to test out our community engagement. And as a result, we started coming up with basic programs and initiatives in the schools where students can get some sort of collaboration and engagement with the organizations that were serving the underprivileged people in Singapore. And also we started working with the Ministry of Education early 2000 or mid of 2000 to work on an integration program for especially because Singapore has a 70% are Singaporeans and 30% expats are in Singapore. And the thinking about in the government was, how do I integrate these foreigners to the extent possible that it doesn't become a foreign land and a Singapore land. And there was a lot of about 6 years of work that we did with various ministries as part of MOE, but completely integrating with the higher learning sector, NUS, NTU, and the top leadership in the country actually worked for 6 years on various panels to think about how do we foster this integration between foreigners and locals, and what are the specific areas that we can do, for example, at school level, for example, at college level and post-college level, which will allow a better understanding of each of the sites. And I think those initiatives worked very well. We were also recognized by the Ministry of Education for our outstanding integration program that we had created in the late 2000s. So we think that there is similar opportunity in every country. We experienced this at a very granular level when we opened our first school in Tokyo, in Japan, where it's a very regulatory free kind of environment. There is no oversight by an education regulator. So you are subject to the same rules as any other businesses. And particularly as schools, you have to comply to a few more rules. So when we were opening the school, the city council officers came and said, well, welcome. We welcome your school. It was small suburbs of Tokyo. And they said, well, we have a tradition that we want you to go and explain to all the residents what this school is going to be. And we want them to appreciate the fact that you're bringing school to their community. And we literally went to, I remember, about 2,000 houses, and we met with each of the members of the family who were there, and we presented to them a small token of appreciation from the school, and that really accelerated our acceptance within the Japanese community. They didn't see us as a Singapore or a foreign entity. They thought we are part of their culture. And obviously the word was spreading far and wide. And in 2013, after the unfortunate tsunami, we received a call from the Imperial Office saying that the Prince Akishino would like to visit your school. And we said, well, we have a very small school, we were thinking whether it will be appropriate for us to show it to the Prince, because unlike schools in other countries, it was a small school. And we just had about 250 students. So they said, no, it's fine. He would like to come and meet the students. So we had the visit of the Crown Prince Akishino, and it was amazing, the warmth, the interactions that he had with, and incidentally, our schools in Japan today have highest number of Japanese students as compared to foreign students. It started with high number of foreign students, and then over a period of time, and we've been there for 15 years, it has now become a school where Japanese are highly aspirational. They want to come to our schools, they want to go through the international education, but they also find a rich education initiative of having a Japanese culture element deeply rooted into the education program. So that's how the integration with communities has been working. Similarly, we have been doing this in other countries as well, and we think that is extremely important for any education initiative to succeed in any country. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Atul, for sharing your journey. My name is Jamuna. I'm from the Singapore Indian Chamber of Commerce. My question to you is, how does your organization work as a not-for-profit? Do you channel your funds back to the students in the form of bursaries and awards? Or is there any other initiatives? Thank you.
So, it is not-for-profit, but thanks to the regulations, we have to pay taxes, because all schools have to be private limited companies. So we pay taxes on as applicable. I think the key point is that any surpluses that happen are rerouted back into development of schools. It is, for example, when we started in Singapore, we had a small school in a place called Mount Sophia. We grew from there. I know Mr. Thakur's daughters came to our schools, and slowly, it became capital intensive. So all the surpluses that we were able to make, we were able to invest back into Singapore. And if you ever visit our campus in Punggol, and I would look forward to Ambassador welcoming you as well, it is a school which has been created over a period of 5-6 years into a very unique aspirational product for Singapore. It has been featured last Saturday by National Geographic Channel as a school of the future. So it takes a lot of investment to do that. This is something like very large investment. So we are able to reroute those surpluses. So yes, it's been very helpful to us, particularly to be able to see how we are able to benefit the community by investing in real estate, in infrastructure, bringing the best schools to the countries, Very soon we'll be starting our 5th and 6th campus in Tokyo. And again, the press is going to be down here in 2 days to talk about what we can do there. So I think there has to be a constant re-looking at the education, not just from infrastructure, but also what are the things changing in the world? How can we bring some of them back? Maybe it doesn't need capital, but it needs knowledge capital. So there's a lot of reinvestment of knowledge capital as well. As we learn from our friends in the industry, we learn from regulators, we learn from our visits to different countries. And that's what we channel back, all our learning. So for example, we have an infrastructure team that is led by Commander Bharat. And when we go and visit any schools, our cameras are on, like take pictures, something we like, we take it back as an idea. We crawl on the internet to see what's going on in the schools, what are the new features going on in Finland, etc., etc. And then we come back and we sort of say, can we have these ideas back? So it's all about giving back to the community, and we love it.
Yeah, Vishnu. So, could you please share a little bit about your story and how, especially why and how you started GSF? And one more question is, what keeps you motivated and inspired?
I was going to ask a question like that because we want to know something about the man as well. So since 2002, you've seen the evolution not just of education but of your business. What can you share with us in addition to that question? Your biggest challenge, something that really sticks out in memory as something you conquered and made sure that you're where you are today.
Thank you. I think I'll answer the second part first. What keeps motivated? I think it's all about enjoying what you do. If you enjoy what you do, I don't think anything is boring during a day. You can have 16-hour workings every day, and yet you are inspired by the fact, you're motivated by the fact that you are able to contribute to something which is a new value creation. It's, in terms of, sorry, is this okay? Yeah. In terms of, let me use both. In terms of value creation, it's not just economic value, it's not just academic value, it is about also putting things together. You put 1 + 1, if that becomes 3 in terms of what the students are learning, that's a value that we are creating. And I'll go a little bit into what kind of value we're looking at. We have our own tech platform and we are kind of massively revamping it. Our idea is that the same way you work on social media, so our briefing to our design teams were, everybody uses social media, Facebook, Insta, Twitter, WhatsApp, etc. Our interface with our students should be somewhat taking inspiration from them. And it should be the same flow as the students are touching base with their friends. Secondly, any student of any of our school should be able to go and really become a buddy or a friend to any of the students in our school systems. Why limit within the same periphery of your school campus? You can digitally collaborate with a lot of students. And so that way we create a lot of synergies. And these synergies are value creating in nature, which create new services which were not existing before. A synergy between emerging out of a collaboration of teachers between two countries as far and wide as say Tokyo and Riyadh in Saudi, or UAE and let's say South Korea, can be really creating a paradigm shift. So we think that our motivation really draws from the fact that when we see those value creations and we see those value creations getting implemented, it gives you a very big high. Coming to how and where this started, actually, so I come from a very standard SOP background, engineer plus MBA, and then everybody goes into some fields. I was in very well placed organization here in Singapore, IBM, and my job was to tour the ASEAN, South Asia, and work on e-business solutions, etc. But there was also a need seen because the gap between the government MOE schools and the private schools was very wide. It rarely happens in countries, rarely. If you look at Australia, for example, it's not that wide, but in economic sense, it's very wide. B, there could be systems which are very different in nature. Your academic calendars could be different. Your examination systems are different. You have families moving into Singapore for, let's say, 2 to 3 year time frame. And then there's a lot of compatibility issues. So the non-compatibility or the issues that were concerning the society at that point, we took it, or rather I felt there should be a solution for it. So my idea was that, okay, we start a small school here, maybe outsource it to the principals and let them run it. But actually, when the school got started, and when we saw the first year completion, it became very clear that school cannot be run on an outsourced management model or operator model. And the reason was very simple, because too many strategic decisions to take when you are starting a new school. Everything is on the fly. There are no systems, nobody to rely upon. None of the advisors from Big Four are there. You're on your own, right? You have to just decide. And academic qualifications, holding positions are not business people. So I felt there was a need for us to add a commercial element or a business element to the schools. While the educators do their job, we take care of the finances, we take care of expansion, we take care of making sure that we complement them. And I think that's how this got started, and I'm glad we are here.
I think we're gonna, I have one last question, very quickly. What do you think about ChatGPT and its impact on education? I thought I might as well ask.
This is, if you, architecturally, a ChatGPT is something that has crawled on the pages. It's like a search engine, which has additional ability to be able to put together the constructs that you're looking at. Recently, a colleague of mine sent me a poem, and it was a very beautiful poem. It's a poem written for GSF, 20-year celebration. So it came to our WhatsApp chat, and we looked at it, and blah, blah. And in the end, he wrote, created by ChatGPT. It was a wonderful poem. I think it is another, like the early 2000s saw the shifts into social media. ChatGPT is that moment where you will see shifts of very different type of knowledge-based elements coming into our life. It's about, anyways, people could have Googled and got the answer. Now you are able to get that search, and put all the searches together in a few nanoseconds. It is a transformation in a way. It will transform the way products and services are going to emerge. Completely change the way banking systems work, completely change the way airlines work, completely change the way education systems work. So we're going to see changes. But changes always, I would say, the impact of those changes will be gradual in nature, and we will see something very positive emerging out of those. There would always be some negative consequences, which we will have to be careful about. And the scams, like we were discussing before, scams will become more intelligent, and scam writers will become more professional. But we have to see from a positive side that how does it really impact my product service? How does it impact my manufacturing and my customers? So it is going to be really a well-defining moment for everyone. And we'll see some very good outcomes coming from there.
Thank you so much on that note. Thank you for all your questions. And now I would like to invite His Excellency, Jamal Aswedi, to present. Our speaker with a token of our appreciation. His Excellency will be accompanied by a
Excellent.
Thank you so much for the presentation.
Thank you.
Really
It was really a
appreciate it.
pleasure.
Appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Very much.
Thank you very much.
For sharing.
And now, don't go. Now for the finale of the event, which was interesting. It's time for a group photo. So kindly note that after the group photo, Ambassador Jamal will have to take his leave, but all of us are invited to stay till 4:30. So come on up and take a photo. Thank you everyone for your attendance today. Cheers.